Today in the pedal vault, the Engl Cabloader. The Engl Cabloader is a cabinet simulation pedal, and I think due to its inputs, outputs, it's the best on the market. So basically you put your fully processed guitar signal, whether it's an amp, it's a modular, it's a pedal, but without a cabinet emulation. You have to turn it off, and you go to the input of the pedal. Please be aware that when you use a real tube amp or so, you actually should use the FX loop and not the speaker output, because the Cabloader can't handle those huge loads. So we go into the input, and then you could go with a through. You give the signal directly out again if you want to run it into, for instance, a power amp or the FX return, and then into a real power amp and a cabinet. When we go to the input, we can process the signal. We have different functions for the cabs. We have 12 cabs by Engl, and then we have 4 user slots that you can where you can load your own IRs. We have a couple different mic positions, we have a couple different power amp simulations, and we have 4 control knobs that lets us, well, basically alter the position of the mic and the power amp. We have presence and master volume. 2 presets here and here we can save. We can basically recall them whenever we press the button. Okay, now the processed signal goes out either through the balanced output or through the unbalanced output, and from there we can go directly to an interface or to the FOH or mixing board or whatsoever. And we also have a headphones output. As far as the cabinets go, we have all 12 different Engl types. As far as the power amp goes, we have a couple different tubes. We have the EL34s, we have EL84s, we have 6L6 and we have 6V6. And for the microphones, we have a couple of different microphones. I don't know them all. I'll blend in what everyone means. Same for the cabs. For the microphones, we can alter the center and the distance from the cab. And for the power amp, we have an additional escort presence and master control. Okay, now let's look at the curve. Since you typically don't bypass this pedal as often, you have actually hold both switches to turn the pedal on and off. Okay, the pedal is activated. I've enabled the first IR. It's an HM2 V30. I think it's a 1x12 or a 2x12 V30 speaker. Microphone. The microphone is off as well as the power amp. This means distance and center don't affect the signal at all. Master, however, does, and here we have this clipping LED, and when it turns red, you're clipping. And we don't want to clip because then the signal really decreases in quality and very quickly. So let's keep it here. So first of all, let's go through the different IRs. As you can see, there are some small differences. And I have not loaded 15 and 16, so there is no signal. This is actually the Bogren Cockjuice 51, and this is the Bogren Greasy Beard. So as you can see, the Engl ones do have some resonances here and there, but okay. So for the sake of this video, let's stay with, don't know, let's do 8. It's the Engl 4x12 XXL with V30s. So adjust the master. Okay, here. First things first, let's have a look at the power amp, what it does. We should. So presence, the shelf, okay, let's do it here. Actually gives us kind of a scoop sound. Takes away some low end, adds some highs. Takes away some highs. And adds some highs. Okay, so basically it's more or less another EQ control that you can tweak with the presence. Let's leave it off. Okay, the microphones. Basically another EQ control. Okay, let's stay with the 57. It's an SM57, and now let's have a look what distance and center does. Distance actually decreases the lows, and that's totally accurate because the closer the microphone is to your speaker, the more proximity effect you have, and basically the more bass heavy your sound is. Okay, and center. That's also accurate. The farther away you go from the center, the more you lose high frequencies. And you can see this right here. So one thing left to do, let's enable the greasy beard and let's look if the power amp affects the IR signal. Yes, it does. Okay, does the microphone affect the signal? Nope. Okay, maybe. So in the user IRs, the microphone placement, microphones and the two switch knobs are basically non-functioning, and I think that's cool. Okay, now let's find out how this Cabloader actually sounds. For the playthrough, I chose to only use distorted sound, so no clean sound here, and I chose to only use pedals. And I chose 3 different pedals to basically cover all different ranges. The first pedal you're going to hear is the Black Cat Gent Tonic. This one is a preamp distortion pedal, and I chose it because it just has 3 controls. It doesn't have a presence, it doesn't have a depth or so it's very pure. The second preamp pedal is the Lichtlärm Gehenna Mark II, and I chose it because it has all the options. We have treble bass, low mid, high mid, depth, presence. We even have a cut, and we have 2 different gain stages, although I just used 1. And it's one of my most favorite preamp pedals, and therefore I used it. And the last pedal you're going to hear is the Boss MT2 Wassa, and this one I used because it's the most common preamp distortion pedal out there. As far as dialing the pedals, I took maybe 20 to 30 seconds to dial in a sound that I thought worked. You won't see the dialing in the video, and then I just went with it, so no further tweaking here. So the Cabloader, I think, is a really great product. However, I have some cons, but let's focus on the pros here. I really like the routing and tweaking options here. You have basically everything you could possibly need for a mono guitar setup. You could even go stereo. We have the through, that's for me is very, very important. Then we have two different kinds of outs. We even have a headphone out. And well, that's about it. You can choose between line and instrument, input, output. That's really cool. And as far as cap IRs, we have 12 Engl caps, and I think that's more than enough. You can basically get everything you need. And we have 4 user presets. 4, it's a bit few in my opinion. However, I only loaded 2, and well, on the other hand, if you found the right IR, you actually just need 1 or maybe 2. Because in the real world or back in the days, you had 1 cap and that's it. So keep this in mind. As far as power amp and mic options, enough for me. I actually am curious how a 5881 would sound, or a KT66, or are they the same? But it's not here, so that's okay. I think it's not here because Engl doesn't have an amp that has this particular kind of setup. The microphones, it's all good for me. The center and distance options, nice to dial back the highs or dial back the lows, basically. That's cool. Presence is cool. Master is cool. So really, really good. So my biggest con, and actually it's just the only con that this pedal has, is how it handles volume and clipping in general. Normally, I know it that clipping doesn't make a difference when we're talking about a guitar signal, but here it makes a huge difference. You have to really be careful with how much power you go into the input, because when this LED turns to red, it means the sound quality highly decreases. It's a really shabby sounding, digital harshness, unpleasant distortion. You can dial back with the master, of course, but yeah, you have to be careful. And I don't know if it could be done otherwise. This way, it's, well, I personally haven't expected this, and I had to find out what the problem was, and then I realized it was a clipping option, so it was a gain staging problem. And now that I know it, I can deal with it. I can get good results. It's just a bit, well, it's just a bit sad, because I think compared to other products, and I have to keep the volume quite low, I actually had to increase my microphone preamp on my interface to get an equal volume to all my previous sounds, and well, it was unexpected, but if you keep it in mind, cool. So, final verdict, awesome product if you know how to use it and if you exactly need it. The Cap IR software you have to use to swap out the Cap IRs works really well, so no problem about this. So yeah, that's my review on the Cabloader. Now I'm curious, what do you think about this, and do you own this pedal or do you own any other Cabloader? Let me know down in the comment section. And if you want to support this channel, check out the links in the description. Well, and with this said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out my Instagram. May the force be with you and have a nice day.